Dear brothers and sisters in Christ Jesus, today we see the gospel in which Jesus raises a boy from the dead. And it is the most powerful and compassionate moments in the ministry of Jesus. Not only a miracle, but also a revelation of God's mercy and His compassion. Let us interpret this gospel in some of the theological point of views. Why Jesus raises the dead boy? He, when saw the boy and the mother who was weeping, he moved with compassion. We see that. Here, compassion is not only expressed as a word, but also it is said as a verbal action. When Jesus saw the mother weeping, he moved with compassion towards her mother and raised him from death, revealing his divine authority. As we see in John chapter 11 verse 25, he has authority over life and death. And also it foreshadows his resurrection, as we see in 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verses from 20 to 22. What are the other instances in which Jesus raises the dead? We see the raise of the Jairus' daughter, which he raises the daughter of Jairus after some hours. We see it in Mark chapter 5 verses from 35 to 43. And he also raises Lazarus, is one of the best friends, from the tomb after 4 days. We see it in John chapter 11 verses from 1 to 44. No matter how the grip of death is, Jesus holds the power over death. And by that, he shows the progression of the life and resurrection. How Jesus can raise people from death. We see the resurrection, the Easter morning in Luke chapter 24 verses 1 to 7. Jesus rose from death, and Jesus tells, I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet he shall live. We see in John chapter 11 verse 25. In Acts of the Apostles chapter 2 verse 24, God raised him up, losing the pangs of death. And also we see the disciples of Jesus raising dead people, as we see in Acts of the Apostles chapter 9 verse 36 to 42. Peter raises Tabitha, Dorcas, from the dead, and St. Paul raises Eutychus, who has fallen from a window from the second floor. As he was dead, St. Paul raises him up, as we see in Acts chapter 20 verse 9 to 12. It is exemplary that the power of Christ acts through his disciples. The symbolism here refers that a widow is referred to as the mourning and weeping Israel. The dead son refers humanity spiritually dead by sin, as we see in Ephesians chapter 2 verse 1. And the touch of Jesus reveals that God breaking into human suffering, and the rising reveals the new life of humanity. We also see Jesus touches the dead. It is clearly said in Numbers chapters 19 verses 11 and 16 that one who touches the dead is unclean. But here Jesus chooses humanity and compassion over laws. He breaks the laws and raises the dead by his merciful compassion. Death has come as a foreigner from the sin of Adam, as we see in Romans chapter 5 verse 12. But Jesus resurrects us by the hope and the compassion he has towards us. When Jesus saw her, he moved with compassion. So we should not think that God doesn't see us. Jesus always sees us in our sufferings, so that we may be revived and renewed in our own life. He had compassion not only in words but also in verbal actions. So let us all feel the great power and compassion of Jesus, and so let us hope in the new world and new resurrection, that we all one day will die, but eventually we will resurrect through him. So let us also hope in the compassionate heart of Jesus and live as his disciples, showing the examples of Christ. Amen.